I was still pretty shook up from the last level when I started Trance. Trance's map music did nothing to ease the tension. As for how to describe it, well, have you ever heard the theme from Videodrome? That's the closest thing I can think of it to compare it to. I checked to see who the new monster was, and it was Orga, a monster who didn't make his film debut until 2000, appearing in a game made in 1988. So much for my theories about Titanosaurus and Biollante. There's no way this game was made in 88. Those guys at Toho may be smart, but I'm sure they couldn't see that far into the future. If they could, they never would have given Roland Emmerich the rights to make a Godzilla movie. No, this had to be a hack of some kind, which just opened up even more questions. Who made this hack? When? How? Most importantly, why? The why question was what bothered me the most. My immediate assumption was to think that Billy did this to pull a prank on me, but that couldn't be right either. Billy really didn't know anything about how to make a ROM hack, and if he did, he'd probably just do something simple and stupid, like replacing all the monsters with crudely drawn genitalia. Unless Billy had amazing game editing skills and a serious dark streak to his imagination that he never told me about, he couldn't have made this game. Was it even possible to put a hacked ROM onto a cartridge? Aside from all that, my eye was drawn to a new icon on the map. A question mark. I was really curious as to what it did. I'm sure you're also curious, so I'll explain the quiz levels now, since this was when they started appearing. There was only one of these per map from here on, so they always appeared near the start of the map. When you start on a quiz level, you appear on a screen like this. As you can see, there's a question at the top, a yes and a no button, and an emoticon in the center. I refer to the emoticon as face. Real creative, I know. And for convenience, I'll refer to face as the one asking the questions. The music for the quiz levels was a track actually in the game. It's the one that plays when you try to enter the Ghidorah cheat and get sent to an unplayable level. Face asks you 12 yes or no questions, and when you move your monster to the buttons for the answer. When you answer, the question disappears and Face changes expressions for about 8 seconds and then goes back to neutral, and then a new question comes up. There was no time limit, nor any right or wrong answers, at least not as far as I could tell. Face has no respect for the player's personal boundaries and will sometimes ask deeply disturbing and personal questions. For example, do you like hurting people? Have you ever killed anyone? Other times he would ask questions that were either mind-numbingly stupid, like is the sun hot, is water wet, or just flat out ridiculous, like does your dog like the president? And maybe once per quiz, Face would ask you a question about the game. With one exception, Face's expression changes never seem to have an effect on the game, except for indicating what the game creator thought of your answer. His reactions rarely made any sense, and at first I thought they were randomly generated. The questions never followed a pattern, and Face never stayed on the same subject for more than 2 questions. Early on, there were questions that made me think Face was building up to something, only for him to ask some stupid garbage. Here are the expressions of Face that I saw while playing. I'll separate them into 2 categories: the expressions I understood and the expressions I didn't. First, the expressions I understood. Neutral. His default expression. Angry. If you try to attack Face, his expression changes to this, but nothing else happens. Sad, happy, sick, maniacal. Face made this expression when he was being a jerk. You'll see what I mean later. Surprised, love, annoyed, confusion, guilty or hurt, and then there were the others. 2 of these only appeared once, numbers 1 and 12, and I suspected they might have been in-jokes from the creator. Their respective questions were, do you like ice cream, and are you a tough guy? As for the questions in the first quiz, luckily I had a notepad and pen handy. I have problems remembering things, so I often carry one around to jot things down, and sometimes I doodle in it when I'm bored. So when the first quiz started, I thought I'd record what happened, and I'm glad I did. Here are the first series of questions, my answers, and Face's reactions. Do you like the game? Answer yes, reaction happy. Are you afraid? Answer yes, reaction surprised. Are you over 18? Answer yes, reaction weird face number 5. Do birds have teeth? Answer no, reaction love. Is peanut butter good? Answer no, reaction sick. Does the moon rotate? Answer yes, reaction weird face number 11. Have you had a job? Answer yes, reaction confused. Do you like hurting people? Answer no, reaction annoyed. Is the sun hot? Answer yes, reaction sad. Do you like dogs? Answer yes, reaction happy. Is the president good? Answer yes, reaction weird face number 3. Does your dog like the president? Answer no, reaction angry. Now that I've explained all that, it's time for the gameplay. After the quiz level, I tried the new green temple icon first. I was quite impressed by the graphics of this level. As disorienting as they were, I hate those creepy blank staring statue faces. The music had a hypnotic Indian techno vibe to it. There were 2 new enemies in this level, a flying ghost type thing with a trunk and a bat with a horse skull for a face. They appear at random, but I was lucky enough to get a picture with both of them. As I proceeded to a blue mountain level, expecting another nice calm stroll, I took my time walking through and was completely taken by surprise when Not Maguire came speeding towards me. He took quite a bit of health off me with his tentacle screws, and it only took me 2 minutes to kill him without having to worry about a time limit, but the boss monsters never showed up in scrolling levels in the normal game. I was worried as to what other rules the game would break. After another Blue Mountain stage, it was time to fight Not Varen, whose replacement was one of the most bizarre things I had seen in the game. The strange creature attacks by kicking and also opening up its chest and firing heat-sinking missiles. I still don't get it. The missiles were sometimes a pain to deal with, but I found out you could tail whip them out of the way. Not Varen was probably the easiest of the monster replacements. The same could not be said for Not Hodora. Apparently the source of the horse bats, Not Hodora was the most aggravatingly difficult monster to fight yet, mostly because of his special ability. He could shriek and summon a small swarm of those horse bat things. I know there's only 2 in the picture, but every time he did this, about 10 would arrive. The AI took advantage of the distraction and attacked me twice as fast while the horse bats were flying around. Once that annoyance was over, I went through a green temple level to kill some enemies and restore my health. Interestingly enough, none of the horse bats showed up after Not Hodora was killed, and that's when I got an idea. If killing all the monsters makes the red face show up, what would happen if I avoid fighting Orga and go straight to the base? So I gave that a try. The game told me there was no monster there when I tried to start the base level, and immediately afterwards the game took control of my Godzilla piece and moved in front of Orga. My little trick didn't work, so I tried to prepare myself for another chase, but first I had to defeat Orga. The fight with Orga confirmed another thing. Whoever created this hack was clearly a Godzilla fan, not only because they picked a monster like Orga, but because they actually implemented something that happened in Godzilla 2000. Orga's primary attacks were a punch and a heat beam from his shoulder cavity, but once you got him down to half his health, he did something new. He would expand his jaws and try to swallow Godzilla, in the process stealing your health and energy. But in doing so, he gave himself a new weakness. Firing a heat beam into his mouth would take a devastating 4 bars off his life meter. With that weakness revealed, I soon beat Orga, and despite how much I had hoped otherwise, the red face appeared on the map where the base was, and the music stopped. I readied myself as best I could before I started the level, and seeing that it was basically the same as the first, I didn't waste a second before I started hauling ass. I soon encountered obstacles in the form of the ground tile suspended in air. Most of them you could jump over or destroy, and others you had to crouch under. About 40 seconds into it, I heard the horrible bellowing roar and saw the spider beast following close behind me. Stacks of obstacles barely slowed it down, and it would back up and charge its way through all of them, smashing them to bits. And when the smaller obstacles got in its way, it would just expand its jaws and swallow them whole. I was afraid, but with fast thinking and even faster button pressing, I escaped him yet again. I felt really excited, so I laughed and said, "Not this time, asshole!" I decided to take a screen cap to celebrate. But when I said that sentence, just before the level ended, the monster did something that made my blood run cold. It looked at me. That wave of mortal terror overtook me again, and I sure as hell wasn't laughing anymore. I took another screen cap of the level title right before I rushed to the bathroom to splash some water on my face, and to take a piss that I nearly failed to contain when that thing looked at me.